This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom. I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow. Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce.
With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done.
Because the system has to collapse before that.
Cheers, I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Boom. Welcome. Blockchain and Booze number 137. Week number 137, because technically on week 136, last week, we did 2 episodes live at the summit. But I was just reading the chat, and then I was also having thoughts about a bot, because the second we went live on the Lunar Crush stream on Twitter, there was some bot that like instantly was trying to send people to like a dude's account that like does trade signals. And it was like, that was too fast. Is this real? And I realized it was like somebody who programmed a bot to try to get more followers to his account. It was pretty funny. Dude, welcome.
I love that hat.
Everyone knows John. Okay, I didn't even start the actual show yet. Thank you to Blockchain Radio for syndicating this stuff. Thank you to Lunar Crush for streaming us on their Twitter account. And John, welcome back to the show. My son this morning said, you used to have John like on every week. He hasn't been on for a while.
It's been so long. I've just been sitting waiting for you to invite me again. I'm so excited to be back tonight.
We've been texting back and forth about Tom Brady and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, there's so many folks talking about this in the chat, and then also talking about LA Blockchain Summit. I got a first thought. Somebody was just, this is not maybe just something crazy to think about. Somebody tweeted earlier about like, how can this not be bailed out by the government? Like how, when banks went out of business, right? When banks went out of business during the 2008 crisis, banks did way worse stuff. Like they were like not just mismanaged like this, at least on a face value, this looks like things fell apart because of mismanagement. But the banks actually egregiously were selling loans they knew couldn't happen, right? They were just printing money for as long as they could until they couldn't. And then the government bailed them out at the tune of way more than this is supposedly $8 billion or so. Why don't the banks bail them out? Do you think the banks will bail them out? And somebody said, well, the banks won't bail out crypto. This isn't crypto that went under. There's nothing wrong with Ethereum. There's nothing wrong with Bitcoin or any token for that matter. No protocol or token did anything wrong here. Well, maybe other than FTT if they're tied to FTX, right? But so it's not a bailout of crypto. It's a bailout of a large public company that has like 10 of the world's richest people as shareholders of it.
Yeah, this is wild, right? Like this is evolving, right? And we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to have some other major headline and the day later and the day later. I think the crazy thing that's going on right here is trust, right? And I could say, we're still striving to have trust in our space. and we could sit here and say that trustless is better than trust, and we should be shooting for trustless. And I think, you know, there's a number of things that need to happen, and those will be all looked at over time. But you know, it's really an interesting scenario here of like, you know, like I keep coming back to, I mean, for starters, I just want to start by saying, like, I feel bad for anyone that's had their funds lost in this scenario.
It's brutal. It's out of control. There's people who have lost everything, right? Like, think about it. It's as if, let's say, like, I don't know, Wells Fargo went out of business tomorrow,
Right.
and you had your life savings there.
Except there's no insurance here, you know, and you're left with, and I told you so. Well, you should have had a ledger. You should have had self-custody.
Yeah, and then a bunch of Bitcoiners
like,
dunking on you like you're an asshole. But like, come on, nobody did this on purpose. Like, none of the look, you know, like, it's so messed up. Like, that's the thing I hated about. I even regretted. I posted some stupid tweet that said like fucking Tom Brady or something like that, and I immediately regretted it because I'm making a joke of. I know a bunch of our friends probably lost money, and some of them don't want to say it because they feel embarrassed by it or something, but it sucks.
It sucks. And I think what sucks more is that, you know, any entity playing with someone's holdings without their like full understanding that that's going on. I mean, how do you think that an exchange was initially known as being $5 to $6 billion short, which was reported like a week ago? It was ignored. I think CoinDesk was reporting that or something. And, you know, and then like, why? How? I mean, when you're tweeting out that you have this brand new high-rise office in Tokyo and then another one in Miami.
Yeah, that
days ago.
You sent me the Miami tweet. Was like from yesterday or the day before.
And there's a Tokyo one as well, just before that too, because, you know, they're going global and you know, while still being short $5 to $6 billion in funds. And granted, I'm sure that most of the FTX employees didn't know it. But I think when you end up in a situation where it's possible to, I'll call it gamble with your users' funds, this is where there needs to be greater transparency. This is where it shouldn't even be possible. You shouldn't be able to, you know, print a bunch of FTT tokens. There was another few days ago, there was a rise of 120-something% of the active supply of FTT tokens because of, well, I'm sure there's a whole unraveling story on that one. But like, when you look at all this, it shouldn't be possible because, you know, it shouldn't be possible to have any centralized entity that is so actively and you know, purposely not transparent so that they can mess around to where you only notice
the only
that
one
there's
that's supposed to have a monopoly on that kind of activity.
And like, I mean, how is it that they can operate off chain with users' funds that are all crypto? Like, it seems wild to me. And I think there's a lot that's going to come out of this. Obviously, CZ and Binance played SBF to a point where he had to
I was
publicly
going to say,
admit
so somebody posted like CZ put a run on the bank, right? Like, do you believe that CZ knew he was fucking with them by like engaging?
I think that there's a lot of things that you could easily look at and go, oh, look, CZ had this, like, basically he had a map in front of him with his whole team around what they were going to do next. And, you know, you could have this evil part. But
it could have also been innocently like, oh shit, let's do this. And then tweet about it because that's what we do in crypto. Let's talk about it publicly before we even think about it. What do you think?
I mean, or the fact that SBF was laying a foundation where they were trying to basically, you know, go after Binance, say that they had roots in China and they were going after, like, to the US government, talking about this almost as if it's like a national security issue, and then going after DeFi in general. This isn't supposed to be what crypto's about. And so
it is kind of insane that DeFi was like, they were going after DeFi in the last 2 weeks, like very hard, more than ever before, talking about how regulation is necessary, and people get rugged at a level that's way worse probably than any DeFi situation has ever happened.
Yes. And
from a company who spent how much money on like fucking Major League Baseball uniforms? Like, It's
There's so much
offensive.
more, man. There's so much more. But yeah, like all the umpires wearing an FTX logo. Let's not even go. I think FTX Arena is just going to be called Arena pretty soon. It's sort of like, was that necessary? And then you wonder where the $5 to $6 billion in funds went, and then you wonder. I heard 6 to 8 billion today that they're short. I don't know all the numbers. We'll hear more in 10 minutes, I'm sure. But I
I've
think
got an
when you look
idea, by
at,
the way. Are
yeah,
those assets allowed to be sold on secondary, like the naming rights of an arena? Because FTX Arena DAO sounds like a great idea, where we get to vote on what, like we put a digital billboard instead of a name, and every week it can change based on the DAO members' vote or something.
let's
I don't
do
know.
it. Let's do it. Hey, maybe crypto.com Arena is next. I mean, there's a nice thing on the roof you could fly over, and we could just change that with the screen the whole time. That'd be great. I mean, look, like,
Just AR.
we could look at the sponsorships, and we can also look at the
Wrecked
investment.
Stadium. Sorry, but that's so good.
Oh, is that?
That was in the chat. Thank you. Hey, by the way, before we go on, I forgot to throw out there the thing is, if you go to blockchainbooze.io, if you're watching on one of the streams, Premium Arena, that sounds good too. Go to blockchainbooze.io. It'll redirect to the DGH event site so you can talk shit with the rest of the crowd. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to interrupt.
All good, man. But now I'm looking at the other comments, and I see that someone's talking about the Board vodka from LA Blockchain Summit. I did get a little bottle from the event, and you know what? We've got them on our live stream next week, so we're going to get Spirit Punks over for a good solid hour talking about.
I literally have a case
what
of
they're
it
doing
all downstairs. I would be showing you guys, but yeah, the Board vodka. Hopefully, Punk Ape Strong coming to a bottle near you soon. Just throwing that out there. Come on, guys. Look at this
Love
guy.
it.
He's as bored as it gets. Maybe a mutant Ape Strong too. Just saying.
We joke, but I love the idea. I love the idea of licensing IP and using NFTs as part of this whole thing. They have a very interesting business, and I think that whole physical goods around like ownership, there's something there that I think is brewing, and I think it's early. So very exciting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, James just said, yeah, just ordered another bottle. Yeah, so I mean, what they're doing is there's two sides to it that I think are hilarious, and it's a little bit of this was talked about at LA Blockchain Summit. There was a lot of NFT IP talk, so I think we're gonna have to unpack that over the weeks to come. But what was really funny is these guys are crazy smart, transforming the whole way packaged goods are sold, right? They decided to just turn the business model upside down and do some really cool, innovative things that nobody's ever done before. And then on the other side of it, I don't know if you know this, but you'll get to know them and you'll learn this. Dan and John are crazy smart scientists that actually used really high quality, like Department of Defense style research that they had done in the past on like ethanol, like purity something, to actually have one of the highest quality vodka distilleries in the world. And they've been named like Craft Vodka Distillery of the Year by like USA Today and random things like that. But everyone just sees, a cartoon on a bottle or a Doge bottle and just assumes it's bad alcohol or assumes it's a bad product. And on both sides of it, it's like a world-class product coming from people who are revolutionizing consumer packaged goods. And it's so funny for people to just be like, ape on a bottle, sweet,
Yeah, but you know what's so interesting about that, Alon, is that like it's also, despite how good it is, it's a commodity. And it's all about marketing. It's all about branding. And like, so the ability to like adapt a brand into a high quality product and like multiple different types of high quality products, that's really fascinating. So I'm really excited to talk to him a little bit more.
I'm stoked on it. Obviously, in full disclosure, we DGH invested in them because we love them. And Dan said, we're selling memes. LOL. Memes are money. Just throwing that out there. Actually, John, when I posted, I think it was yesterday or maybe this morning, the days are going and I'm still in recovery mode. As some of you can tell, I got sick after the summit, or the last day of the summit.
Same
Last day.
Cold.
Yeah, a bad cold, and I've actually tested a few times, no COVID. But
Same.
the I posted something like, "You've got $5 grand. What are you buying today?" And I think you responded with memes. um, uh, were you being serious, like meme coins and shit like that, or are you more joking around? What would you buy today after this craziness? Or
What
what's
would
the
I buy
data
today?
telling us on Lunar Crush?
I mean, for me personally, like the way that I think is like, live and die with Bitcoin. Like I would always buy Bitcoin. I don't care if it's 10,000 or 69,000 or 3850 at the bottom of COVID there. Like, don't care. Like always add Bitcoin. But that's a different narrative. Like if we're talking about timing, this isn't financial advice, but I think if we're talking memes, I think there's something going on with Dogecoin that I think we need to watch. And what I mean by that is we've never had Elon at the helm of Twitter before.
He
You
made
can
jokes. Do you remember? He made jokes saying he would change the Twitter logo to the Doge logo at one point. Like somebody said, "Hey,
Right.
Elon, why don't you buy Twitter and change the logo?" And he made it like the Doge logo. And Elon responded saying, "Oh, great idea." And then he bought Twitter.
You see, I find it funny because like it was created as a joke, and now there's actually something interesting to follow along here with it. No one 6 months ago would have said you should buy Dogecoin over Solana. And maybe 6 months ago I would have said you should
I
keep your
still
eye
have
on
never
Solana.
bought Doge. Am I an idiot?
No, not at all. I mean, it's just it's all about risk tolerance and what you're ready for and all that. But what I would say is like
I was just about to respond with like some really stupid NFT I bought, but I can't think of something super stupid enough off of the top of my head. But I'm sure I've bought NFTs that are way sillier than a Dogecoin, but I don't know why I've never bought Doge.
the stupidest things that I've bought have been from friends telling me what I should buy. And I look at this.
Oh wait, you texted me that one NFT. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think I did the same thing.
But it's also like, no one had ill intentions. Everyone thought it would be cool. Everyone gets swept up in hype. But the reality is no one knows, but the crowds do. And when the crowds put their money where their mouth is, that's where you get magic. That's where you start to see, okay, so there's people buying and there's community, and it's progressively going further. You end up seeing things like a Chainlink happen from like go back and look at the social activity of Chainlink over time.
I've been hearing a lot about Chainlink all of a sudden. I don't know if it's because we're doing a lot of work with Dolomite, and they did something with Chainlink, so it was like mentioned. But all of a sudden, I'm seeing that again. I don't know if it's because I have a connection or if it's just happening again. But those communities start popping up right about now. I literally got my ape coin because I had my ape and my mutants, and I sold a tiny bit at one point. Not at the top. I didn't get that lucky, but on its way back down, I was like, you know what? I should be responsible. And I got a certain amount of ETH, and I put it in the sort of savings account, at least bucket in my head. And today I was like, maybe I should buy some ApeCoin. It went down. But the funny thing is if you told me ApeCoin would be at this price the day before they were distributing it, I'd be like, holy fuck, that's crazy high. That's so awesome. Right.
Right.
And now at this price, I'm looking at it. But I don't really trade, right? You know me, I'm very extremely long-term. I just collect things and I buy equity in early stage startups, and that's what we do.
But you see, Alon, that's
exactly.
See, that's exactly the right perspective though. Like think about what's happening right now. Like, if your average individual were to go to any major centralized exchange today, we could have a debate over like centralized exchange versus a DEX is so much better and self-custody is so much better. The reality is, what are you doing on whether it's centralized or decentralized? You're swapping something. You're buying something, this for that, this for that. Why are you buying this for that? What are you going to do with it? And if the answer is that you're following a green candle and drawing lines on a chart, when shit hits the fan, when things go bad, you have zero loyalty, you have zero understanding of what you're holding, you don't understand anything about it, you don't understand the tokenomic structure, you don't understand the utility of it, you didn't use the utility of it because you kept it on that exchange. Like, if you think about it, like almost from the perspective of only buy what you're going to use, you inherently start to invest based upon the utility and things that you care about, you need, you're part of that community. And I think what we've seen, especially the last, I'll call it few years, is look at the structure of a centralized exchange. Are they there to educate you with news that they filter that's totally around making you trade more? When they build that UI and they're like, now listed on X exchange, trade now. Do you seriously think that that exchange isn't working against you selling as you're buying? Like, do you seriously think that they're not, like, they're ripping you off?
That's the thing. When crypto markets dump, they report record gains also because it creates more liquidity. When it pumps, record gains because of, you know, record profits because of liquidity also. And so just the more there's movement, the more they make. And it has obviously the thing that maybe is irrational at the moment is things like Coinbase. If you look at it, there's been quarters where they announced record profits and their price went down because Bitcoin and the crypto market went down, and everyone psychologically connects them to that. But that's just proof that a product like Lunar Crush is actually better at predicting what markets should look like than actual results from financials and things like that nowadays. So people are
what's
investing
interesting?
irrationally completely.
The word around like predicting, predicting is a funny word. Like, I think if you look at where we're going over time, it's going to be much more about like, this social signal just fired, because we look at anomalies of social data and we're like, well, what happened in the past when that fired? How did it perform over time? And like, if you kind of just look at that as like your next step of trading is to trade, that's one path. But it's like, when you place those trades on those exchanges, when you buy Cardano, and I like Cardano, but when you buy Cardano on Coinbase and leave it on Coinbase, are you actually part of the Cardano community and participating in all the applications built on Cardano? No, you're not. You're keeping your coins on an exchange. So like, this is part of the problem. And if you look at it, like, we have an entire industry of uneducated individuals in terms of what they're holding. The fringe are the people that are actually still using these applications and buying NFTs and using dApps. And I feel like that's problem one to solve.
I think, if people create, and I, I haven't given enough love to hardware wallets, like in my own life and in my own thought process. But like, if people created a really good usable user experience around a hardware wallet and DEXs, it could blow it just literally would change the whole industry, right? Like, imagine if the public, imagine if Tom fucking Brady was on the Super Bowl commercial or investing hundreds of millions of dollars in literally going like, you need to buy one of these because this is financial freedom, right? And he's showing you like a hardware wallet and then shows you how you can deposit US dollars into it through an exchange or through, a MoonPay or something like that. I'm not saying it's a completely decentralized Rails, but once the US dollars is USDC on this device, or maybe with a simple connection to your phone or your computer, you're swapping for Bitcoin, you're swapping for ETH, and you're using whatever exchange it is, you're holding it on this thing where that can't be used as collateral unless you take it into some DeFi product and use it as collateral. It's your responsibility, right? Because as of right now, SBF or fucking whoever is in charge of your money, Alex Mashinsky controls your money in Celsius. If it was on a hardware wallet, he doesn't have access to it unless you delegate access somehow. And then it's on you. It no longer becomes on that person.
So think about it. Like, Tom Brady used his celebrity status to throw a football at the moon in short clips on Twitter, as opposed to trying to create more responsible investors. The FTX sponsors Steph Curry, Shohei Ohtani from the Angels, like all these people, are part of this marketing engine right alongside the tweets that are being posted. X is now listed on FTX, and we're part of this this puzzle that the exchanges have created to gamify people.
I think we are all guilty of cheering on some of this shit. Like, it was exciting as fuck to see the Super Bowl commercials, But like at the same time, it seems insanely irresponsible for any business to spend that much money on something. Like I get mainstream adoption, but it drives me nuts. Like I hate, like you guys all know I fucking love Tezos. I really don't like seeing, like, I want a Tezos jersey, like the Manchester United jersey that nobody is allowed to buy because it's only on the warm-up jerseys. That's the deal they did, so they don't sell them.
Sucks,
like,
man.
I want that jersey. That would make me really happy to own that jersey. But other than the piece of merch, like, I don't want to hear how much they spent to sponsor an F1 race or something. Like, that's bullshit. Like, I don't like that at all. But you know, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I don't understand, but marketing like that seems insane to me.
But you're an engineer, a builder, a tinkerer. You want to think through, like, how do we use this tech to build cool stuff? And that is a totally different, like, discussion versus trading volume on an exchange.
Rename the engineering school at UCLA or something, or I don't know, not UCLA, but maybe like a different school, or like a school, like, what school in India churns out the most engineers? Because I bet you they churn out more engineers than any school in the United States. Let's rename that school the Tezos Blockchain Academy, right? That shit would make me so happy. But an F1 race? What the hell does that have to do with any of this? Like, what? Like, and I understand a consumer product like Coinbase doing something like that. But it's still in hindsight, if something bad like this happens, then I'm like, really? You know, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. You think, I mean, here's the crazy reality of this is, because it's all just get them to trade more so we get more fees, instead of taking the time to educate people and get them to understand what these assets are, do, what's happening literally right this second, stay up to speed, feel like you're part of it. And instead of doing that, we focused on, like, follow the green candle as an industry.
Well, we're in crypto.
And what's
everything
crazy
has to be today. It has to be yesterday. It has to be too fast. But like, is there I wonder if there's a playbook. Like, did JP Morgan nickel and dime every little trade, or did they make their products sticky and kind of get you sucked in? And like, that's also an interesting thing, because like, we want to be different than the banks, but we're kind of at least it seems like these guys are being just as irresponsible, and just like, they're basically creating a bank. Like, I was kind of trolling when I said the financial crisis bailout thing, but are they any different from the banks when we look at them this way?
So, no.
With less guardrails.
No, different game, same shit. Like literally, did yesterday not reek of a Lehman Brothers moment again? Does it feel different? It doesn't feel different to me.
No, the difference is that I actually think, like, when we look back at it, we're going to find out, okay, they put stuff in risky assets, things went illiquid, there were problems, and it was mismanaged, and the risk rewards, whatever, the risk tolerance, all those things got fucked, right? In the 2008 financial crisis, what they were doing was straight up fraud, because I don't think anyone at the top believed it could last. They knew, though, that they were printing money as fast as humanly possible. And then they gave enough money to government officials to know they'd be bailed out, or that were too big to fail, you know. And what happened to Countrywide? I don't freaking know. They all got bailed out, and now it's Bank of America, which is kind of perfect, right? That Bank of America owns Countrywide symbolically. But anyway, like, what's next? It does feel, I mean, like
it does, except a lot of what happened here too happened through social discourse, and like, really the crowds took hold. I mean, if you think about it, Binance was playing poker on Twitter, and you know, like, they played a tough hand and got SBF to admit that they have issues. And I mean, look, they made an offer to buy FTX without even giving a price. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
As they made that offer, FTT was tanking. It went up very, very shortly, and then tanked some more. And then they came out and said, nah, we're not gonna. It's actually worse than we thought. After our 12 hours of due diligence, on a multi-billion-dollar complex entity. Yeah, we took 12 hours. Come on, guys, you did not do due diligence in 12 hours. No, that's not how it works. And like then they said nah, and then like all it is about getting a bargain technically if you think about it. But the thing that's scary is that erodes trust. And you could look at there's outflows across every exchange that I've seen today. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there are mass outflows out of exchanges. My fear is contagion.
Yeah.
Because of a lack of trust. Might have nothing to do with any specific exchange and just lack of trust. There's another side of contagion. I mean, when you look at and who knows what FTX is holding, but we do know that they invested $300 million last year in Solana. I mean, like they've got investments in all over the place. They own 7% or more or something of Robinhood, right? They own part of Robinhood, 7 point something percent. I don't remember the number. You've got like they have investments in Circle, and don't forget they bought BlockFi and Voyager. They bought BlockFi and Voyager. We were worried about those failing.
Where's all the it's I wonder if that's a big part of it. Like when they bought BlockFi and Voyager, did they commit to making those users whole? So now all of a sudden they took on a ton of debt thinking they'd be able to like print trading fees to pay for it? Like because all of that money went out to sponsor, stadiums. What I'm trying to figure out is like, did it really just fall apart because crypto went down and they just were way too leveraged? Like, were they basically like on a corporate level over leveraged the way like people were doing irresponsibly on DeFi? Like it's insane.
I got a weird, I'm not going to call it a conspiracy theory thing because it's definitely not in that ballpark, but I have a theory of just crypto in general. And I kind of have this thought of like, does crypto itself, if you look at the model of cryptocurrencies, does it inherently, based upon how it's structured, fight corporate control and corporate greed? And what I mean by that is like, companies go all the way to going public that are crypto oriented. And well, what's the number one thing that public companies do? Quarterly earnings, and they have to pay people in fiat currency, right? That's already that's problem 1 and 2. Crypto doesn't work in quarters. It doesn't work that way. And to pay people in fiat, if you're purely crypto based or Web3 based, what does that mean to pay people in fiat? Like where are your earnings going? Because are your earnings going into crypto? Are your earnings going into fiat? Are you cashing out crypto to go into fiat? Like part of me goes like, when you get to become a corporation that's so big that gets to the point of like FTX's size, does crypto inherently through its structure itself fight that? And what I mean by that is like, think about it. Like if FTX were solely, if they only accepted Bitcoin, they would have to sell all that Bitcoin to pay for their office in Tokyo and Miami and all their employees, wouldn't they? If it was just straight up like, we accept Bitcoin, but we pay everyone in US dollars. And so that already doesn't work. And then there's governance issues and there's corporate issues. And where does the money flow from token to crypto, corporate profits? There's a lot of problems. And it just makes me think, does crypto fight it? Does crypto fight corporate structures inherently? And that's a bigger question, but I don't know.
I get stoked on that idea. It's like, the machine taking it out from the inside. From your mouths to God's ears, I can't wait for all the world's largest banks to start holding big crypto reserves so the machine can take them out too.
Right.
But it is interesting. And a part of me, I was texting with you. One of like the thoughts I had was like, CZ and all this stuff really dumped it even harder. Like them even engaging it made it worse and made it more in people's eyes, made crypto go down more, made the price of FTX probably be driven down if somebody does try to come and buy it and do all these things. Although the price is basically zero, and what they have to just look at is all the creditors and all the people they owe, right? So I think that's the issue. But if this happened in like in a weird vacuum, and JP Morgan or Fidelity or just any one of the world's largest banks just came in and was like, you know what? We wanted to get into crypto. Now's a perfect time to buy a large, well-known exchange. We'll be the saviors that save the day. If they did buy a lot of Bitcoin right now, things are down. They made that announcement. The whole fucking space would blow up and go nuts. And what's funny is the people who hate banks the most and who hate this situation the most will be cheering that on because they'll be so stoked because number go up. But it would be a horrible thing, I think, long-term for the industry, but it could be really interesting. Like, do you think there's a chance of anything like that? Or do you think that the FTX name now, just from this 2 days, is enough to be tainted to where nobody will want to touch it? I can't imagine
I don't know, but what I would say is we cannot be in a situation where an exchange that's that large, that has its fingers on so many pieces of so many pies, goes down and it's just them. It's like almost impossible because their tentacles are all over the place, right? And so it's like I would say in general it's going to take some time to unwind from this, but coming out of it, I can't imagine this isn't about to be regulated like crazy. Like, you might not distinguish, it might be indistinguishable to look at a bank versus a crypto firm like BlockFi, for example. It's going to look just like JP Morgan, dude.
It might be bad short term for crypto bringing people in. It might be good for it short term for people coming in. But at the end of the day, like, should it be like using an app on your phone that you KYC'd into and all that stuff to buy your crypto? Like, is that not, did you not already do all the worst parts of being at a bank? Right? Like, what benefit do you have from okay, let's use FTX as the example so we don't throw anyone else under the bus, because I like everyone and I want FTX to freaking somehow succeed and for people not to lose their money. But let's say I KYC'd on FTX. I've never used FTX before, but I know that you have to KYC. I know it's a centralized exchange. Why is that any different from a bank other than I don't get the protections and I don't have insurance, right? Like, it's no different. It actually they charge us higher fees. The crypto exchanges are charging us higher fees than banks charge to make trades. Like,
why does the founder live in the Bahamas?
Exactly.
Like, just saying. Like, why is it that I can go to FTX's website right now and still create a new account? That's true. It's still up. You can still sign up right now. Do not encourage that. but like, yeah, I mean, why is it, I mean, you mentioned KYC. Why is it that if you were to KYC with one entity, that it's not just some blockchain tool that they're plugging into and the ID that they pull in from it says yes or no?
I had a great meeting last week at the summit from someone who is like a KYC expert. And do you remember, was it Justin Sun, who like straight up on Twitter was like, just KYC with a fake account or something? Like, he straight up said that on Twitter talking about one of the exchanges, because there's lots of threads of people literally like creating fake IDs, like literally just there are websites where you go type in fake passport and you like put in a picture, and the guy who was showing me a demo of his KYC product and explaining to me why it's important for banks and for financial institutions and exchanges literally made on one of these websites a fake ID, and for the holographic image, instead of like the country's little hologram thing that shows up, he used a unicorn. And he passed through KYC, and his name was something ridiculous too. It was like, like John Fuckwad or something. Like, it was like just straight up like a stupid fake name with like even with like a curse word in it. I didn't mean to say John with you. I just went generic.
No offense, man. No offense. I'm good. I'm okay.
But it was insane. And he's like, I got through like 3 exchanges with this fake ID. He was like, I mean, let's see what happens when he tries to take money off the exchange. But
I mean, some of them are like, sign a paper with today's date, stand on one leg, rub your head, hold your license, and we want to see your computer screen at the same time.
If I go on my Google Photos and I type in, if I type in passport, I find like 15 pictures of myself.
And in a decentralized, supposedly decentralized world, where exactly did all that information you just sent over go? Where did it go? And then you went to another exchange and KYC'd again, and where did that go? And is that secure? Is that in a centralized database of that one
Well, imagine
entity?
like, okay, we're on Twitter with our own faces talking about crypto publicly, but imagine if you're the dude who's purposely keeping under the radar, if you're the woman who uses a a fake picture, right, and doesn't want to be public, and you're one of those people who right now are talking shit about Twitter because you don't want to put in your credit card for the blue check or whatever, right? But like, imagine if you're one of those people, you actually are in crypto because of privacy reasons, like you.
Right.
That's
Sure.
that's crazy. Well, I mean, I guess then you go to the local Bitcoins kind of thing and things like that, but that's sketchy and scary for people. I mean, I don't want to be dealing in cash. That's why that's one of the benefits of crypto.
I mean, I think what we're ultimately talking about here is like, there's a lot of pieces of this puzzle to still work on. And I think, like, I sent you a message earlier, we were talking about DEXs, and I'm like, man, like, as big as you've ever thought and as important as you've ever thought DEXs were, they're approximately 1,000 times more important than that.
Yeah.
And I think, we were on another stream yesterday and we were talking about this, and it's like, you have to break what a DEX is into building blocks, and you have to think through all the different elements of it. And when you start to throw terms like decentralized at it, it becomes complicated. There's a lot of pieces to consider. And I think, from an investment opportunity perspective, man, like the next generation of DEXs,
I've been thinking about it like crazy, and we just, it's public, and I've been talking about them and had Corey on, and he'll be back again. But we talked about Dolomite. We made an investment in Dolomite mostly because Corey and Adam, who built it, are like the smartest dudes in that world that I know. And every time I have a question about DEXs or smart contracts and financial products, I ask them. So when they're launching something, they're the first people I want on my team. So, but like, what's interesting about them that I think is the big argument against DEXs up until recently was that they were too basic, right? Oh, you can't do leverage trading. You can only do this. If you want to provide liquidity, then you have to do it in this certain way, because on the main chain of Ethereum and most of the other products, you can't do a lot of compute power. And for an exchange to be really, really, to do sophisticated products on exchanges, you need a lot of compute power. It's not so simple. It's not just something you throw in a smart contract. But now DEXs are getting way, way, way better. It's funny, I just got a text from Corey. But they're getting way better, and you can start to do some of those things because of side chains and layer twos and the scaling of our space in general. And like, imagine a situation like this isn't possible. There are other things that can happen in the DEX world, right? We've seen hacks and things like that, but I know my one ETH that I throw on the DEX is in that smart contract. I can see it. I can see it there. I can deposit it into the exchange. I could provide it as I could use it. I could trade it. I can do all of these things, right? And that's really cool. But what's interesting is that regulation makes that even harder to do, even though it's the more transparent, better for the user thing, right? Like,
yeah, there's, I think there's so many things that are guaranteed right now. One of those is that the biggest, best entrepreneurs out there are completely stoked by this situation. I mean, anything less than seeing your assets on chain and exactly where they are, what's happening right now, immediately, on demand, is unacceptable. And I think,
scary.
Yeah,
like, imagine.
so like, imagine the fact that like it was reported like 5 days ago, I think, by CoinDesk, like that there was a $5 to $6 billion shortage. Dude, how? like how are you short? How are you using people's assets that didn't give you permission to use those assets?
I mean, let's ask the banks how much money they have in deposits versus how much cash they have. It's like they removed the fractional requirements. Even it used to be 10%, and they removed that, so they don't even have 10% of the cash that they say is deposited in their institution. So, which is bonkers. But again, crypto doesn't have that insurance, the guardrails, and the government backing them. And the sentiment, the public sentiment is, if the banks bailed this out, the public sentiment will not say the banks bailed out FTX, or the banks bailed out in exchange, or the banks bailed out Countrywide. It will be the banks bailed out crypto, because the industry is so small. One exchange equals the whole industry in the eyes of the public, which is also shows, you know, we have a lot of work to do to educate people and make them realize, like, this space is not a cartoon JPEG, this a cartoon ape, right? This space is not one single exchange, or even Dogecoin, right? But in people's eyes, any one of those things is the whole industry.
I think this space moves in waves, and we maybe got ahead of ourselves 12 months ago. And I think that caused all sorts of waves downwards, and then we'll move up again as we innovate further. But take the very, very first second of the very, very first wave, and that was Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was created to stop these problems that were happening with banks.
Yeah.
Right. When it was created, right? And like, if you look at what's happening right now, we just replicated that on chain. I'm sorry, we replicated it off chain in the most non-transparent way possible, with certain elements being able to be measured on chain. But we're talking about corporations that failed crypto. That's what we're talking about. And like, I just look at this and I go, well, what's the average individual to do? And there's the simple things of self-custody, and get a ledger, get a Trezor, get any sort of hardware wallet, use a DEX. There's all this stuff. But even before that, man, start getting educated as to how this stuff works, and invest in things that drive utility and joy to your life. Like, man, some of these things that will be solved by
we need to do a whole new round.
This
This should be like a holiday challenge thing, because the first time I gave any of my family members any crypto, it was some Bitcoin on paper wallets. I wrote out the key because I thought that would make it weirder, and I put it on strips of construction paper because that's just what I happened to have. But like, later on, I did a thing with my family where I texted a whole chain, and I just said, like, if you send me an Ethereum wallet address, I will send you a gift. That's all I said to like 20 people. 4 of them, 3 of the 4 lived in the same house together, responded to me with an Ethereum address. Or they asked me a question. I told them, okay, get MetaMask and then send me the address. And they figured it out. They sent it to me. And I sent them, like, I think I sent the first person, my niece, like, I don't know, $50 in ETH. And I sent everyone else $20 in ETH. And then my son made his NFTs. So we dropped that into their wallets, and they got alerts because I told them to get Zerion and turn on alerts. Like, and we kept sending random stuff. I haven't done that in a long time. John said, Alon, offer still valid. You know what, John? If you don't have a crypto wallet at all, if you don't have it, and I'm going to have to go by trust, DM me an ETH address. I will send you a gift. But for real, like, we need to all do this with our families, because when you do that, that's on chain. That's not, we're not telling them go on to Coinbase and do whatever. We can send them, send your family members $20 a piece, right? And then send them, like an NFT. Send them, give me their address. I'll send them a boring stone, right? I've got like 50 of them. Send me their address. I'll send them I'll send a random person a World of Women. But like, you do that too with your family members, and all of a sudden they'll start having fun and realizing, like, wait, can I make art like this? I can do this with my friends. I can do whatever. Wait, I can trade this US dollar coin for some Bitcoin without using Coinbase. How do I do that? Like, people will start playing. Some will start playing with it. Most maybe won't, but at least they'll have that, like, that little grain of education that starts it off for everyone.
You know what that also does is it gets them to create and have fun and participate, and I think that's incredibly important. And if you think about like think of our education system, when do you start really doing that? Look at the creativity of a kindergartner. Right.
Yeah.
Look at the creativity of a first grader, a fifth grader.
Yeah, when we started it, my kids were when we were in the quarantine stuff, my youngest was about that age, maybe first grade, right? And then we started. Think about my son's. I have the poo-poo.eth thing right there. Just getting poo-poo.eth. The fact that I was like, you should get one of these, and that was 3 years ago now. Like, and then him coming up with the idea of a membership token. And then the people who have the membership token are the people that will get the airdrops. Like, that just came off the top of the head because kids natively are thinking digitally, right? They just needed the terminology, needed to know what that was. You know, the second
you know what it does?
came on.
You know what it does is it's like, hey, I like doodling, and I'm going to turn that into an NFT, and it turns from tinkering into thinking about models, and those models that of like how it could work turns into user experience, which turns into how does that? It turns into a business model.
Yeah.
And it turns into like I don't even know if business is the right word. It turns into a operating model that has money loosely thrown into it at various points. We need another term other than business, I think.
Yeah.
But like my son learned to code and started with some HTML and all that, and it was like, and then he learned some smart contracting language, and then he built an NFT collection, and then he sold it out, and then he learned how to market his NFT collection and how to promote it and how to build a product roadmap. He didn't know any of these terms. He just was having fun doodling around. What he really did was he built a crypto-based entity, and then he launched another NFT collection and sold that one out. And so it's like Wait,
how come I don't got any of these? All right,
I know. I got to get you in on it.
I just knew he was making Roblox games, and so I was telling my kids about that too.
See, now he's got other people hiring him to build websites where you can connect a crypto wallet and view your NFTs on it and all that, and that's turning into a business. And he's 15 years old, and it's like, that's all because of like way back here exploring. And I think that's what's really interesting, and that is a beautiful thing. Versus,
we should just come up with sorry to interrupt, but we should just come up with an idea and like pay your son like so that we can own it and teach him a lesson of something. Like, we'll give him some ownership, but come on, let's incubate an idea.
Sure. I mean, but it's sort of like you start to think about that structure, and then it's a beautiful thing, and then you think about things like FTX and these big businesses, and it isn't such a beautiful thing. It isn't crypto.
No, that's not exactly. It's not crypto. That's where I was getting at, but even people in our industry on the thread of the dude saying they need to bail this out, like the government needs to bail it out. And then people were talking about it and like, why would the government bail out crypto? Why would the government bail out crypto? I'm like, this isn't crypto. This is the government saving a bunch of consumers who got screwed by a crappy bank, right? Like, that's essentially what this is.
And even if it were bailed out, okay, so the government bails out with fiat to give to FTX to trade into crypto assets, to give those crypto assets back to someone? Are you kidding? That's not going to happen.
No, it will. No, it will never happen. But especially because, again, it's not. This industry doesn't have a long, rich history of paying for the politicians that are in place. Or being the largest war profiteers in the world and the biggest lenders to the government people who need to do those things, which is wonderful. And we don't want that. We want I almost said we don't want the government to bail out crypto. See, that's but really it's bullshit. Okay, this company, but do you think that the government did fail all of us by not providing proper regulation for these centralized entities? These are still companies in the United States who paid for registration, who are taking consumer money to do something, right? So technically, does the government have some responsibility in that they never regulated it and they never told them what to do? And so they had to self-regulate because the government sat around with their thumb up their asses. Like, I mean, so maybe the government does have a responsibility to bail us out. Throw all the people who are responsible in prison if they are known to have actually done crimes, right? Or again, I can't wait to see what Alex Mashinsky actually did. I can't wait to see what Sam Bankman-Fried actually did, and then put it side by side with the CEOs of the world's biggest banks during the financial crisis and during the times. Hundreds of billions of dollars were fined to the world's major banks last year. That was just the fine for the way they treated their clients. So $8 billion doesn't seem like that much if the fines to the major banks were orders of magnitude larger. So I want to know, did they break the law? Did Sam Bankman-Fried just fuck up, or did he break the law? If he broke the law, okay, throw him in prison. But if he didn't, the government has a responsibility because they didn't give any proper anything, right?
I mean, like,
I could argue both sides of that all day long. Like, I could be like, fuck that, the government shouldn't touch it at all, and it's our responsibility. But if they're going to regulate things, either do it right or not at all.
Like last week at LA Blockchain Summit, we were talking about regulation on stage, and I gave the comment of, I am not a lawyer. I am no expert on regulation. And by the way, nor are 99.9% of the people out there who claim to be, who still haven't fixed it, right? So I have an engineering mindset. I have a building mindset. I have a startup mindset.
Yeah.
I want to build utility and build value to this community and make it a better place. I'm surrounded by probably the most honest founding team that you could find. And like all of our team, we have an amazing team. And I sit here and I go, it would be really easy for us to have formed this company somewhere really far away and move there, where the regulation might be a little more clear, right? And I think, ultimately you can say, well, there's this rule and that rule, and this is what should happen. If you go back to the beginning, I'm going to use that same bit of stoke that my kid had about building an NFT collection. Guess what's going to happen if there's no clarity? That kid's not even going to start tinkering because it might be illegal.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with that. That's ridiculous.
We talk about that way too much. And now here's a good example. Here's a good example of somebody who did like a halfway version, right? And there were no guardrails, there's no anything. And what's going to happen is, if they regulate it extra hard because they didn't have proper regulation to begin with, it's going to scare the crap out of everyone, right? Like one government agency says publicly that they'd rather the people that are criminals be using crypto than US dollars because it's easier to trace on one day. And then the same time, the US government is sending aid to another country in USDC because it's easier for them to secure. And then at the same time, Brad Sherman is on stage saying it's an industry that is only good for illegal activities, right? And this is like the head of the Investor Protections Committee. He did nothing to protect investors by saying that bullshit out loud. All he did was scare people from innovating. And look, people got fucked. And did he do anything about it? He talked about it being for illegal purposes only. Here's all the people who participated legally who are now getting screwed.
It's quite the mess. And I still ultimately come back to, today we're talking about DEXs are really important, not your keys, not your coins. Like, it's this whole thing of like corporate nonsense greed. Can't believe what's happening with FTX and Binance. Okay, the solution for all this, if it's not clear, it either A, won't be worked on by entrepreneurs because they just won't even start it because it's not worth it, or B, it leaves the United States that we're sitting in right now. It's literally, those are your choices.
They're taking us a step further towards that utopia, dystopia, awesome idea, actually, but it depends on how it's implemented. It's going to be a utopia because we're living in a dystopia, because it's going to get so extreme that we're going to create digital jurisdictions. And like, fuck it, in the United States, we get worse healthcare than pretty much everywhere in the world. So why be here? We get worse treatment in terms of access to opportunities and access to freedom, right? So let's do it digitally. All of these things are moving us towards digital jurisdictions. And you know what? Like, I'm gonna start like paying my taxes or paying dues to some union that doesn't exist yet, right? Like, let's go back to the Great Depression. Like, there were thugs and cops coming in and beating people for wanting to organize to have to be able to eat, right? Like, literally, like, they were being set on fire with doors being locked in buildings for having, a union rally because they wanted the most basic of things. We're getting to the point where like, we're going to need to create some kind of digital unions and like modern unions where we get treated fairly, right? Like, and then
Man, you sound like I remember hearing Tim Draper talk on one of his older. This was a
digital
long time
jurisdiction.
ago.
We're going to get insurance
Yeah.
online. We're going to get
Yep.
everything online because we can't depend on the government
Insurance.
for it.
Insurance is a really awesome example because it's sort of like I've got friends that work in the industry, and it's sort of like they fly all over the world just to like accumulate funds to like get enough to back a policy, major policies for like huge corporations. And I'm like, man, all of that's on chain. It could be all funded like so much easier than the wine and dine situation that they currently do.
I'm
Flying
sorry,
to London and back.
John
Like-
from Spirit Punks just posted in the chat that he just swooped johnfarjo.eth and he's accepting authors. He'll hook it up. He'll hook it up.
It was last week he asked for my .eth address.
You know what? The insurance industry, to double down on what you're saying, is the most government aided, backed thing that we have, masquerading as a private industry that we have, other than banking maybe. And I don't know which one is worse. But the funniest thing is everyone fighting against socialized medicine because of, oh yeah, you want our taxes to pay? You know how much of our taxes go to insurance companies and how subsidized it is and how screwed up it is, just to charge us more money, just to make it a bigger business. Like, it's the most intertwined thing we have probably in terms of conflict.
There's a major point that you didn't mention, and that is quality of care. Like, put it this way. If you were to go to your doctor and he starts prescribing you tests that are out of the ordinary of what insurance would typically cover, you know what happens to that doctor? You think you're getting great care because you're like, yeah, the doctor gave me all these extra things and I just want to make sure I'm healthy, right? And that insurance company is going to call that doctor up and they're going to say, dude, you're making healthcare so much more expensive. Your account's under review. And the doctors live in fear of that. And then on top of that, those doctors get paid less and less and less and less and less. And to the point where I've got friends that are doctors, they say, don't do it. Don't become a doctor. Don't become a dentist. I have dentist friends too that say, don't do it. Because all you do is get less and less. So you know what they do? They go on, they just accept cash. They would just rather just have cash. And because it's not worth it.
Crazy. I did what? Where did I go? I went to a dermatologist, and they were just like, "Yeah, no, we don't even talk about insurance." I'm like, "I'm here because I have a literally thing like on my back. You're taking off. This isn't cosmetic. Like, I'm not coming here to get better skin. Like, I'm coming here because you told me this could be cancer." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't deal with insurance." I'm just like, "All right." It's insane.
Insurance.
But that's the world, the crazy world. We went way over time, and we were going to talk about the summit, and we never really did. So we're going to have to do that. Actually, I think we might have the crew from the Nerd Collective on next week, which is Data, NFT, and some folks like that. We might talk about the summit too. But you know what? For everyone who wanted to talk about the summit, we'll do it in the chats following up on this. So you'll be able to come to blockchainbooze.io, which will redirect you to the DGH events website and all that. If you hop in, you can turn on your camera. Sorry, I'll leave that up for a second. You could turn on your camera and hang out with the crew. We'll talk about LA Blockchain Summit. And anyway, the main takeaway is that we're gathering all the content right now. There might be some, if you go and look on the YouTube channel already, but it should be the pitching companies so far. And then the pictures are coming in before the end of the week too. So by Monday or so, you'll get a mass email with all the pictures and all of the content. And then I think we're going to have to do like recap sessions on Blockchain Booze for certain industries, right? Like what you were saying, like there was a ton of KYC talk and regulation talk, which is going to get interesting, even more interesting now. But there was also like a ton of IP discussion around, we had them on the show in advance, Mintangible and the Spirit Punks and the Merch Proof guys all together. Like if you put them all together, it turns into some really interesting stuff because they're all different pieces of the puzzle around NFT IP, right? And then even SoCal IP, our friends, is a law firm that focuses on IP. sent one of their partners because they have a partner that's focusing on the blockchain stuff now, right? So you're looking at IP firms knowing they want to participate here. It's really interesting. So we're gonna have some fun. We'll do some recaps. John, thank you so much for hanging with me. Today was kind of one of those days where we had to go rogue and talk about this stuff. I appreciate
All
you.
good.
Everybody, at John Farjo on Twitter, but also at Lunar Crush. What other things do you want to plug? Is there anything else we should say before we're done and go hang out with the community?
I mean, I'll say that, you know, we recently launched a live dashboard. We showed that to a lot of the people that came by our setup at the LA Blockchain Summit last week. We have a lot more coming on that dashboard.
I just started playing with it because I had spent the last few weeks before the summit like around the clock, and I was dying to play with it. And I still, because I've been sick, didn't give it enough love. But the live dashboard, every time I responded to John, like, you should add this feature and this feature and this feature. He's like, it's already done, dude.
So we can share dashboards. So I'm gonna send you a link to a few of my favorite ones that I've created, because you can create as many as you want. Like I have ones for crypto, ones for NFTs, one for stocks, different kinds of things. And so I'll share some things with you, but we're going to have different visualizations and different things coming up there. Our asset detail pages are also going to be live very soon. We're working on that. But all of that's accessible with level 5. And what's crazy, despite all of the crazy, we're seeing like record upgrades and signups on our site. So we're so happy that we can play that part in keeping people up to speed with what's going on, because it's so hard. And so, you know, what we do is we look at like what's happening like right now on the community, what's everyone talking about, but we also coordinate it with market data, and you get magic when you do that. You get a lot of interesting things. I keep saying like we measure where people are putting their money where their mouth is. And it's like you put those two things together and you get some really fascinating things. And it also keeps you up to speed. You know how like you go on vacation for a day and you don't know what's going on in crypto? That would have been very true the last day. We help you with that.
Yeah, and I will tell you that like I have a tab open with Lunar Crush all the time, but I never used the feed more than I did when I was on that 2-week long trip where I wasn't like sitting at my desk for 16 hours a day. I literally, every time I had a break, I'm waiting for someone at a meeting or I'm laying in bed at the end of the night, I was literally going down the feed going, oh, what happened in crypto today? And it was awesome. Yeah, there is a level 5. Oh, John in the chat, John Broderick said Lunar Crush intro with the video for year in review was awesome. So I heard from Joe, you guys are going to rework that for the end of the year you'll probably have some things to add, right? Or is that public? Is that public yet?
Man, what an update we have since LA Blockchain Summit already, don't we? So that's a perfect example of like, you know, how crypto moves. It doesn't move on a post you read from 3 weeks ago. And it certainly doesn't trade that way.
I like what you said. Like any single thing in that video, if that were to have happened in our 2017 edition of Crypto Invest Summit, it would have blown our freaking minds. Like we would have been like, holy shit. Like my hat would have flown off, right? Like it would have been insane, right? And then it's just things like that are getting more and more normal.
It's more and more normal as this keeps growing. I mean, another thing that I'll just plug real quick before I know we got to go. We're seeing today, and it might be it is for all of the hopefully wrong reasons, I should say. We're seeing record social mentions. We're seeing record social contributors, and the social contributors is what I'm so excited about.
Yeah,
that looks at unique individuals that are posting on social media on a 24-hour basis. For the first time ever, we're breaking 1 million people talking about cryptocurrencies on social, which is crazy. It's still small. It's still
tiny.
We still have billions of people to go after. And I'm looking at unique accounts that excludes bots. That's 1 million humans. That's not bots. And so when you look at that, to me, it's like, man, the opportunity is as big as it all seems right now. This is tiny. We are heading towards a very, very big place. And so that's what gets me super jazzed and excited is to see the growth of all of the data.
Yes.
And I will leave it at that.
Guys, I appreciate all of you in the chat for hanging out, and everyone else. I'm going to take a moment of a break, but I'm going to turn on the chat, and then I'll be joining you guys, I think, pretty late tonight. By the way, I wasn't drinking tonight because I'm getting over being sick. But John, thank you so much. Dude, it was fun hanging in real life at the summit too. The Lunar Lounge, when we do the recap, I'm going to tell everybody about it and stuff, but the Lunar Lounge was epic. That was kind of the beehive of activity at the summit the whole time. You guys killed it. I had so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again. But everyone, I will see you on the flip side. I see you on the other side. And thanks, John. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Alon.
Another day in crypto.
Just another one.